Here's another great question from Cora. What are the best ways to torpedo the validity of someone else's trademark? My name is Andrei Mincov. I'm the founder of Trademark Factory, and I answer questions like this all the time. So if you're interested in branding, entrepreneurship, intellectual property, trademarks, make sure you subscribe and get notified whenever the next video goes live. And by the way, if you've got a question for me about any of those things, make sure you post a comment below and I'll do my best to answer your question. Now, to go back to this question, there are multiple ways to torpedo the validity of someone else's trademark, and here's how you do it. Well, first of all, the important thing is when, right? What stage of their trademark is that before you go and try to torpedo it. If it's still pending as an application, there's one way to do it. If it's already registered, there's a different way to do it. So if it's still pending, if it wasn't registered yet, then what you've got is a few options. The main option is to oppose their trademark, and there are a few grounds for opposition. I'll go through them in a moment. But basically, opposition is used after the trademarks office approved their mark. They said, we don't think there's anything wrong with this trademark application, and they open a very short period of time for the public to raise their hand and say, nope, we actually think there would be a problem if you were to register this trademark. You shouldn't register this trademark, and here's why. Usually it's 1 or 2 months, depending on the country, for the opposition period, and everyone who has an interest in opposing that mark or objecting to the registration of that mark needs to take care of finding out about it, right? The trademarks office, in theory, they post the information about it in a journal or in a newsletter, in a newspaper, and of course nobody pays attention to those, but the information is posted online, so it's up to you to police the use of marks that you think would damage you if someone else registered them. So you can oppose as long as you have a genuine interest in opposing. So it's not, the system is not designed for you to just oppose everyone else's marks because you hate the process of trademarking and you've got enough resources to stop everyone from trademarking their brands. You have to have a genuine interest in stopping them from trademarking because the registration would somehow damage your legal rights and interests. So with that said, what are the usual reasons? The first reason is that you may claim that the trademark that they're trying to register does not distinguish them. It's not performing the function that a trademark should, which is to differentiate your products and services from the same or similar products and services of everyone else. So if they go for the name that is too common in the industry and everyone uses it, you may have the ground that it doesn't distinguish the products and services claimed under the mark. Another ground is that the mark is generic, which is somewhat similar to not distinctive, but slightly different. For example, if someone tries to trademark a term in the industry, right, like pencil, if they're selling pencils and they're trying to get a trademark for pencil, that would be a problem, right? Or if that's the name, the same name, but in another language that somehow was missed by the trademark examiner. So there's different ways that generic trademarks might slip through the cracks. And if you find that you can make the argument that the mark that they're trying to go for is generic, you could oppose successfully. Another reason for opposition is that you had been using your mark way before they filed for their trademark, and that could be grounds for opposition. Another ground for opposition, if you have a registered trademark that's confusingly similar to the one that they're filing for, right? When the trademarks office examines somebody else's application, there's a human being who does the trademark search, and sometimes they miss things. They may not notice certain things, and during the opposition period, you can draw their attention to, hey, I've got the application, or I've got the registration for this exact brand, or something that's confusingly similar, and by them registering it, my rights will be damaged. And that's another reason for opposition. With the opposition stage, another way to do it is if you see that they are defrauding the trademarks office. For example, they said that they had been using the mark since a certain day. They provided a specimen of use in the US, and you see that the specimen of use is fake. That's good reason for opposing, because you're not supposed to lie to the trademarks office. These are the main ways to torpedo the validity of a trademark application that's still pending. After the trademark is registered, you can still go against it, but your options are very, very limited. You can request cancellation of the mark for non-use, but only after it had been registered for a certain amount of time, usually 3 years. If after the mark registers, 3 years passed, and you can prove that the mark is not in use and was not in use in the last 3 years, then you can request cancellation because they're not using it. Because once you register your trademark, you are expected to use it, and if you don't, it's open for anyone canceling your mark. Same idea with the mark becoming generic. You can challenge that mark by saying, okay, it may have been distinctive at the time they registered it, but it's not anymore, because now everyone uses the same term for a specific type of products and services, and it no longer distinguishes them. So it's generic. Like they recently were attacking Google for internet searches, right? They were able to withstand that attack, but I don't know how long it will be before they fail. Same thing happened with escalator, or with linoleum, or with many other brands or names that used to be brands, that used to be trademarks, but became generic because nobody was using them as the brand, and everyone was using them as a just regular name for a type of product or a service, like linoleum, like I said. And then you can also challenge the registration of somebody's mark if you can prove that they knowingly registered a trademark, that you were there first, you had prior rights. That one becomes increasingly difficult, and after a certain period of time, the trademark registration becomes incontestable, which means that even if you were there first and they registered it after a certain amount of years, 5 years in most countries, you can't register, you can't challenge the validity of it because their registration becomes incontestable. So these are the main grounds, and there's a lot of little subtle details around each ground of these oppositions or cancellations, and I mean, I would not go into them in detail in this response. We have videos about cancellations, we have videos about oppositions, so make sure you search for those, watch them if you're interested in a specific subtopic. So I hope this answers your question. Make sure you like this video if it does, and like I said, subscribe, get notified whenever the next video goes live. And if you got a brand that you want to protect, make sure you go to trademarkfactory.com and book a call with one of our strategy advisors. The call is absolutely free, and if there's a good fit between what you need and what we offer, we'd be happy to welcome you to the Trademark Factory family. And until then, I will see you in the next video.